What would you say if you were told that in the future you could stop your council raising the level of council tax? Or you could take over your local library if you thought maybe they weren't doing a good job? Well, that's exactly what the government's proposing in the new localism bill set out at the beginning of this week. Who knows, you might want to take over Ski Rosendale, who knows? The whole idea is to take away power from central government and give it to local councils and communities. A major part of the bill focuses on town planning. Now, the government says it wants local people to decide just how many new houses they want built in their area. Well, David Saville is at Whalley Village with a group campaigning against one project there. Good morning.
Morning, Graham. Yeah, welcome to Whalley, this small village just outside Clitheroe on the edge of the Ribble Valley. I'm standing on the edge of the village at the moment, surrounded by one or two houses, mainly built in the 1930s, I'd say. But I'm here with Mike Harbour from the Save Whalley Village Group, and we're looking out across at an open green field, aren't we, Mike?
Well, we are at the moment, David, that's right. But if the developers' commercial estates group have their way, then that'll be a field with 300 houses in it.
And that's not the total extent of the applications or the proposals that there are at the moment for building houses in Whalley, is it?
No, I mean, there's been a spate of applications across the Ribble Valley, but there's also going to be another 80 houses built in Whalley. Just behind us there, an application by the Co-op has gone in there, and we think there'll be a lot more to come on that site if those get approved.
So what are your fears as residents here?
Well, really what we're trying to do here is to keep Whalley as a village. Since I was growing up here 30-odd years ago, there's been a huge amount of new development in the area. And if these plans go ahead, then the size of the village will increase by a third at a stroke. So we don't think that's appropriate. And we're also trying to preserve the rural landscape you can see around you now, and to stop them building on open countryside, and also protect the sort of heritage we have in the village here as well.
But I mean, when you heard about the ideas that there were in this localism bill, I mean, were you heartened by that, or what were your initial thoughts?
Well, the thing that's become obvious to us as we've been talking to people about these issues is that people have completely lost confidence in the planning process. And people think that these sorts of things are sort of a done deal before they ever hear about them. And from what we understand, the bill allows for neighbourhood plans where local communities can get together and set out their vision for their area. And if that really is the case, then we would certainly welcome that. But we also want to know about how we can stop opportunistic developers like the Co-op and like CEG from pushing through unpopular applications before their legislation gets passed.
Where's your anger directed then? Is it at the local authorities? Because they already draw up local plans, don't they?
Yeah, but we don't feel we have any input into those. I mean, the local plan here was drawn up well over 10 years ago, and I don't really think it really had much support. And the developers themselves seem to be able to sort of ignore the local plan a lot of the time. Certainly they can ignore the feelings of the local people, and we don't think that's right. I
mean, a lot of talk within this localism bill has been about the amount of power that's delivered to parish councils and to town councils, and the benefits that they can get from say planning gain, where a developer will pay a certain amount of money towards a local authority to do work. That money will then go to Whalley Parish Council. Would you feel that perhaps that was a better way of dealing with these kinds of issues?
Yeah, I think that the devil will be in the detail. I think certainly it's an improvement, and it makes it more explicit what's going on, that there's a trade-off between allowing development and being provided with benefits that are stay within the community, and that just doesn't happen at the moment. So yes, it will be an improvement, I think.
But you've got to acknowledge that new homes do have to be built, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, people here fully recognise the need for affordable housing, and I think if that housing was developed sensitively and in scale with the village and not destroying open countryside, then people would welcome it. After all, the people who need this housing are in fact members of the community, and people here do understand their problems.
So are there alternative sites that perhaps you would look at and say, maybe don't look at this green field that we're looking at the moment, perhaps look somewhere else in the village?
Well, I mean, the problem is with brownfield sites that have already been developed, they do come up infrequently, and they're not as big. They're certainly not as attractive to developers because they're interested in making a very quick profit and then going. And I think it would take more thought and more imagination to develop some of these brownfield sites, but we think that's probably the way forward, yes.
The final thought, I suppose, Mike, is that when we're looking around at these houses, some of them may have been built in the 1930s, but once upon a time, this, of course, would have been a greenfield as well, wouldn't it? And Whalley was a much smaller village. This is what happens. Developments grow.
Well, that's right. I mean, we're not against all development, but what we feel the natural way for a village to grow, a village like Whalley to grow, is to grow slowly and not be suddenly inundated with a vast number of houses. That's how Whalley has developed over the centuries, and that's how it should carry on developing.
Well, Mike, thanks very much. We'll watch and see what happens with regard to your campaign and also with regard to the localism bill and where that will affect it. Thanks very much this morning. So there you are, Graham, from Whalley. It's back to you. Yeah.